All righty, it is 11:20, and we try to be prompt and on time, and so we can keep things moving. Welcome, welcome, welcome to today's board update and town hall. October the 30th, and that's not a joke. We are here, and we are ready to start today's town hall. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As we start off all of our meetings with the board, we start off with our shadow card and our cue card. And so help us to remember whenever we're not enough, distrusting. Excuse me. We've started if we can, please. So help us whenever we are not enough, distrusting, grieving, blaming, powerless, or fearful. For who we have come here to be is loving in integrity, unstoppable, spirit-led, empowered in ownership and transformational. For this last board meeting, we had four reports that came up, and I want to share those 4 reports with you. Endowment Foundation, the facilities, the fundraising, and the finance or treasurer's report. Thank you for being here. We have got great news for everybody. The Endowment Foundation is doing quite well. The Endowment Foundation, as you probably know, was started in 2017 when we moved money from the Legacies of Aloha into the Endowment Foundation. We've had a few bequests that have come in, one that was for $1 million plus and another one for $200,000 plus. And so we've got a fair amount of money that is now in the Endowment Foundation, for which we are very, very thankful. Another bequest came in just recently, about a week ago, from Ralph Hartman, and thank you for his contribution. As you remember in 2017, what ended up happening was that the church decided, here in Town Hall, in the annual meeting, that what we would do was to pay off the $140,000 loan by withholding money from the Endowment Foundation until that loan was paid off. Good news, the $140,000 is now down to $35,000, and as soon as that $35,000 gets paid off, which should be by the middle of 2023, so we've got less than a year before we should have that one paid off. At that point, there will be a distribution that will be coming into the church, and it will probably go into a reserve fund for the church at present, but the reserve fund will be in the general operating procedures as well. So we are excited about that money coming in, and that amount, you may ask, how much is it? Well, it's a complicated formula to be able to figure this piece out a little bit. So please bear with me. What happens is it's the average of 12 quarterly averages in the Endowment Foundation. So for example, let's say that there's $500,000 in the Endowment Foundation, $1 million in the Endowment Foundation, $1.5 million in the Endowment Foundation for 3 years. That's 12 quarters. What will happen is you'll have the 500 plus the million plus the 1.5. You add those together, you divide it, you come up with $1 million. So you've got $1 million that's in the Endowment Foundation for figuring what gets distributed. 4% of that million, $40,000, then comes over to the church at the end of the year. What the Endowment Foundation has decided to do is to make it a little bit easier, so every quarter, 1% of the average comes over to the church, so that we don't wait till the end of the year to give that money to the church. So let's just suffice it to say, when at present, just so that you know, the quarterly distributions are about $14,000, and I think on the slide here behind me, you can see that the Endowment Foundation has $1.665 million in it. The First Hawaiian Bank has nearly over $100,000 in it. And so those are the numbers that we will be using, but again, we have to use the quarterly the 12 quarterly average to be able to figure it. But within a fair length of time, that nearly $2 million that we've got in the Endowment Foundation will be paying 4% or 1% quarterly. That makes sense to everybody. And obviously, the stock market is down right now some, so it's not where it was. But when this goes back up, we should be getting closer to the 1.7, 1.8, $2 million that are in the endowment foundation. Okay? It is invested wisely with Morgan Stanley. It's doing as we have done better than the stock market has done. Amen, hallelujah. And part of that is because we put it into bonds and we put it into some other things, liquid assets, to be able to make sure that we didn't go down as much as the stock market did. And we were lucky. We have done well. And that's the good thing. Facilities. Reverend Johanna, would you like to help us and talk to us about facilities and where we are with that?
Yes. All right. I'm going to just read from this just because I've been known to go off script, and that might not be the best thing. So for part of that, we have the subcommittee meeting, and in that, the committee continues to plan for the movement of all classrooms into the fenced area of the education building. The preschool will then occupy the entirety of the education building to include the Peace Chapel. Basically, everything that's within that confined gate over there, that is going to now be the preschool. So yay for that. They're going to have the safety, the security that they need in order to keep the children in one place and to have accountability, as they do now, but that will be easier to manage. And initial tagging of all items in those rooms is to start to allow the movement of the contents from room 201 to 204 in mid-November. So we do have our classroom items up there, the church does, and what they're going to do is assist us in getting rid of anything that is broken, no longer is useful. We're going to store it in the parking lot. The preschool is going to pay for that, and then they're going to go ahead and redo everything that they need to do in order to complete their project. So the pods, the 2 pod containers will probably be in our parking lot for the next 5 to 6 months. So please have patience with us. We do have additional parking along the street. We're working with Waikiki Elementary as well, and we'll make sure to let you know or let us know if this becomes a problem and you can't find a place to park. So what's going to be renovated in that area or in the facility includes the roof, the windows, the painting, and the classrooms. They are totally reconstructing the entire area. You're going to look at it. It's going to look beautiful and new, and our children get to have a wonderful place to be together in school with their teachers. And the facilities subcommittee on school space met several times to discuss possibilities for other missions of the church. Funding from the 85th anniversary, so that's what's going on right now, our fundraiser. Funding from the 85th anniversary includes architectural plans of the cottage area, and that's the area right down here where it's gated and everything, right next to our Tropical Florals Hawaii. So the church is going to have all of that space for classroom, for offices, but we're going to need to have an architecture come in here and tell us what is possible. Because right now, not many of us on the facilities team know exactly how to reconstruct a room and everything. So we're going to bring in the experts, and what we're raising for the 85th anniversary is going to help us do that and help us refresh and broaden the mission here at Unity Church of Hawaii. And electrical green room and sanctuary is complete with the exception of the sidewalk lamp right outside the chapel and the street strips.
Yeah, as it goes down around.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what we were talking about at that point, but what Thomas said. So right alongside right here, everything electrical is done except for those areas right there, and we're working on it at this point. The panel box in the counseling center has been relocated into the kitchen, and the junction boxes in the attic have new covers. We should be good to go now. So everything is being redone. This is going to help us maintain safety as far as the electrical situation here on campus goes. And as we continue to upgrade and enhance, this includes the enhancement of our safety here at Unity Church Hawaii. I think I'm done, right?
Yes, thank you.
All right, add if you need to.
That is great. It is really interesting because Sergio every once in a while will have parents. Let me say that differently. The parents that have got children here in the preschool frequently were children in the preschool as well. And they bring their kids and or grandkids. And some of the parents and grandparents have said, you know, that education building looks just the way it did when I was a child. And which we say, yes, and it hasn't been painted since you were a child either, and nothing has been done to it. We've got water that comes in from the ceiling in the roof, and so we can just say thank you to the preschool for taking on and deciding to fix that up, get it done, and get it done right. They're going to have doors that will go through from one room to the other to be able to take care of all of the security aspects that they need. It's going to be well done. It's going to be done right. And so we are very blessed in the process. Amen? Amen. Fundraising. Catherine, would you like to talk to us about fundraising?
Love your funds. So, I'm here to say that we are on our way with fundraising. It's a very exciting time. And our goal this year was $85,000 for the 85th anniversary. And I want you to know that that $85,000 were for all these things that we've been hearing about outside of what the school's going to take care of that are beyond our annual budget. That's why we're raising this extra amount for bringing our wonderful Reverend Tim here, for helping with the electrical and for all the other things. And you've had the list for that. So that's part of what we're doing. And we have, of course, hopefully you've all gotten the announcement from the email about our fundraising. And I want to say that let's check in with Reverend Johanna on how much we've received so far.
Oh, I'm here again. Okay, so right now, this is just a rough estimate based off of those pledges, based off of what we received. And so we're looking at close to $50,000, close to it. We're still trying to tally up some of the pledges and everything else. So we've received some emails. We're documenting those. I'll be sending those to my accounting team so they can agree with me on this, because right now they're probably like, what? What's going on? But yeah, we're close to 50. And so I want to just thank each and every one of you, because you're the ones that make this happen, and we are closer to our goal because of you.
Yay! Thank you. And you can, again, go on to the website and see more about the fundraising. I want to say now that as the next level, we are in the celebration of our 85th anniversary. And we've had many events about that, some of which will be fundraising events. We've had a dinner, a concert, the installation of Reverend Tim, the thank you to Reverend Denise. We've had a mystery dinner, and we now are, what I want to say for the rest of this is we're at a very important week, because this is the week of All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day, which is a chance to honor souls that have made their transition. And how this is usually done is making a donation to the church. That is the tradition, and having their name, which will be put on a plaque. And it's funny because I know about this, but I did research on it, and I want to share two things. And that is, All Saints' Day is the day, which is the 1st, November 1st, is the day that we honor the saints that have entered heaven, is how it's defined. And heaven is that state of God-realized consciousness, as we would say it, in unity. So those, and that is through, as we know, purification, sanctification, becoming holy, and as it's said in the definition, dedicating your whole life to God. Okay. The All Souls Day is sort of for the rest of us, which aren't quite there in heaven yet, but sometimes it feels like it, especially when we come on Sundays. And we are doing our work. And I think I'm going to break into, I'm working my way back to you, God, with a burning love inside. So there it is. And that's what that's about. And purgatory, interestingly enough, is defined as that place where we're still working towards that. And you can call it people, souls on the other side. But how many of us have had a past life? So we're souls that are still working our way back to you, God. So I want to say this is a good week, and you can do it afterwards. We're just going to leave it open to make a donation for a loved one, and you're helping their souls on their path. Have you ever thought about that? Actually serving their souls on their path. So that's the last thing I want to say. Let me just see. The other thing I just want to end with is don't forget the Thanksgiving dinner on the Wednesday night before Thursday's Thanksgiving. That's going to be a wonderful, wonderful time. So know that you are allowing all these wonderful new things about our church to happen. You are helping put some in a savings account. The board is looking at, pay yourself first, putting a little into savings each time. And we are then moving our spiritual mission forward by everything we do. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Catherine. I appreciate that. The items, if you didn't know, the projects that we've got are the ones that are listed up here on the board, and the amounts that are in there. And they're pretty firm figures. So that's where the $85,000 is currently planned to be dedicated to. Thank you again, Catherine. The last thing that we had was the treasurer's report, and Debbie's over with slides and other things, and she asked if I would do this one for her. So donations during the month of September came in at $19,519. Other income, which includes allocations that come in from the preschool, from the wellness center, from the counseling center, from Aloha Aina, from all of the rest of those, adds up to $13,000, giving us a total of $32,500. Cost of direct revenue, which is paying for credit cards, paying for all of the rest of the things that bank accounts, bank fees, and all that kind of stuff, comes up to $2,000. Our expenses were $38,000, leaving us with a deficit of $7,800 for the month of September. And cumulative, which is the next page, gives us a cumulative minus of $38,000 this year. So that's one of the other reasons we're trying to raise some additional funds at the end of the year with the 85th anniversary to be able to help us with covering some of those costs. Questions that people have? Yes, Catherine.
I may have missed this. The money that comes in from the endowment stock market quarterly to the church, does that go into the bank account for that?
So at the time that we are able to have the loan paid off, then yes, it will come into the church. Will it come into the operating budget? Maybe. What we're trying to do is establish a reserve account, and that money will come into the reserve account. And if there are deficits like we've got now, for 2 months, then that money gets reassessed into, does it need to go into the general operating fund, operating expenses, so that we are making sure that we are above, that we've got money in all of the accounts. The good part is that we've got, Debbie, can you help me? Around $80,000 that is in a reserve, in a restricted account right now, and we've got about, is that right, Debbie? Okay. And around $30,000 that's currently in the operating, about 50 that is currently in the operating budget. So even though these numbers are minuses, we have had money that we are borrowing, we are using against, but as soon as we're able to get all of that paid off and get numbers and ongoing prosperity consciousness to be able to bring in additional funds, that will hopefully be able to take care of all of that. Okay? Did that answer your question? Super. Any other questions that are present? Johanna, do you see any coming in from outside? Would you like to grab your phone real quick and see if there are questions that are coming in from online with YouTube or Facebook? Any other questions that people have here in the sanctuary? Yes, Ralph.
Reverend Tim, how are you enjoying it so far? being back home?
I'm enjoying it a lot. I mean, it's great. It's home, and there's obviously some challenges that we're dealing with as we look at cash flow and so forth. But I'm really encouraged by, what's in the endowment and the money that will be coming into the church operating or into the reserve account from that endowment foundation fund. But your question was, how am I enjoying it? I'm enjoying it very, very much. I'm really at home here. I know that. I knew, when I was moving back here, I knew I was moving home. And so, yeah, it's going very, very well. Thank you. Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the things that comes up as president of the board, I will get telephone calls sometimes from other Unity churches or for other locations, and most of them have got budgets that are similar to what ours is, between $200,000, $400,000 a year of a budget for a campus that is this size. It is not unheard of. It's about what it is. And most of them say, how in the world are you currently making expenses? How are you doing it? Because we're having an extremely hard time. The fact that the preschool, the wellness center, the counseling center, Aloha Aina, and other things are allocating, donating in nearly a third of our budget makes a huge difference. And when we get the addition of the endowment distributions coming in, it's going to be taking care of nearly half of our budget. And so we, as owners of this church, only have to pay about half of what it is that the totality would be costing us. And so we are blessed, and people, presidents of boards of different Unity churches, when they call, say, what are you doing right? You've got to be doing something right because things are working nicely for you. Bless you. And we are blessed. So very blessed, and blessed to have you, Reverend Tim. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Thomas, there are no questions on Facebook or what have you. I do have a question from the back, and it's Lisa Inslee.
I was wondering if you could explain the Endowment Foundation and why there's, almost, $1.5, $2 million in there. Why can't you use that? So I think there's some parameters around the Endowment Foundation that would help explained briefly.
No, exactly. Thank you. And that kind of brings up deja vu from 2017 when we had this issue before. To answer the question, there is an endowment foundation to ensure perpetuity of the church. Okay? And the reason that it exists is that in the past we have had some bequests come into the church and that got put into the regular operating expenses, and those funds ended up being spent rather than trying to save and make sure that things were done to make sure the church has got ongoing income coming in over the years. So what happened was in 2017, the endowment Legacies of Aloha, which had been used on a couple of occasions to pay bills because we needed to. But what ended up happening was those Legacies of Aloha dollars moved over into the endowment foundation. Unity of Hawaii Endowment Foundation is, I think I'm going to say this right, a 509A3 instead of a 401C3. I think that's correct. Anyway, doesn't really matter. It is a supporting organization of the supported organization of the church. So it has its own board, it has its own bylaws, it has its own appendices that are also attached to the church's appendices. Okay? So we cannot change the gift acceptance policy or the distribution policy at the church level without getting the endowment foundation to also agree with it and bringing it to the congregation. Because the congregation has to be the ones that approve any changes to the bylaws or the appendices. It's fairly strict in the process, but in order for us to have money that is growing for us, which it is doing, and it's doing well. Most of the time, endowment foundations will grow at an average of between 5, 7, 9% per year. And that's then taking away from that then the cost of living or the COLA or the amount that comes of cost of living. And so you end up with the endowment foundation always growing a little bit bigger than what it is that's in there. So that is the purpose of having an endowment foundation that will put money, give money, distribute money to the church to be able to keep it in existence. Without it, we would have an ongoing difficult time. And the way to look at this piece right now, too, is that the loan that was due to the endowment foundation has paid off more than $100,000 out of the endowment foundation to the church that is a loan that they have to pay back to the endowment foundation. So the church has already received over $100,000 worth of benefit from the endowment foundation. So sometimes, Lisa, people say, well, why is this money in the endowment foundation? Nothing is coming to the church. The church doesn't see any of it. It's just over there, and they've got this money that's growing, and the church doesn't see it. That is not a truthful statement. The church has already seen $100,000 come in to pay off the loan, and it will continue to see money coming in. In the neighborhood of between $60,000 and $80,000 a year will be coming in from the endowment foundation in a couple of years when that number is stabilized over the period of 3 years. Did that explain the question that you had? Pardon? More than you wanted to know? Well, we certainly want to be completely transparent in the whole process so that there isn't any concern of they've got this money, they're hiding it, they're not doing anything with it. That is not at all the case. It's very, very transparent. And please, I would encourage you, not if you ever want to, I would encourage you to go onto the Unity Church of Hawaii's website. Go to the Endowment Foundation. Every one of our minutes is on the Endowment Foundation minutes. You can look at all of them. We do not hide anything. It is the most transparent set of minutes. I'm doing them, and I'm just making sure that they are as transparent and they're as full as they can be. So there's nothing hidden. Go in there and look at them. Make yourself at home. It's easy. Everybody can go on. Just go into Endowment Foundation minutes, read them. The same thing is true for the church. All you have to do is go to the church, go to board reports, read all the minutes. They're not quite as descriptive as maybe what it is for the Endowment Foundation, but everything that is decided on the board minutes is there. So feel free, please, join us in reading through those. It's extremely important that everybody is well informed, because if we're well informed and we understand what's going on, we don't end up making up stories that are ours to be able to say that's probably what's happening. It's not what we need. We need to be transparent. We need to make sure everybody understands exactly what's happening. And if that wasn't redundant, that was redundant. I'm just making sure everybody does. You want me to say it again? All right. Reverend Tim, any questions you have or any comments that you have? All right. Well, if we will, let's all stand. And Ralph, will you lead us in weave us together?
Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Weave weave us together, weave us together in unity and love.